So the conservation of mass is kind of a pretty big deal. Basically, it says to all the alchemists who are trying to transmute lead into gold that that's really not possible. Whatever you start out in a chemical reaction has to be what you end up with in a chemical reaction. And so this greatly simplifies the work of chemists, because part of what chemists try to do is predict what happens in a chemical reaction. So if you mix two things together, what's going to happen? What are the products that come out of that reaction? And this is what the goal of chemists in the 1700s were, in the late 1700s, and this is our goal in this lab. And so specifically, let's take a look at what happens when magnesium metal, magnesium is an elemental metal, reacts with an acid, and we'll use hydrochloric acid. So let's try to see if we can predict what happens when magnesium metal reacts with hydrochloric acid. And the way scientists communicated this information about what are the things you're reacting and what are the things that are being produced, the way scientists communicated this information to each other was through the idea of a chemical equation. The idea of a chemical equation is this. You have reactants, they react, and they form products. And of course, in this lab, our job is to predict what the products of magnesium and hydrochloric acid are. And therefore, we actually know what the reactants are. It's Mg, which is the chemical symbol for magnesium metal, and hydrochloric acid, which is HCl. So H is hydrogen and Cl is chlorine. And the hydrochloric acid is actually little HCl molecules swimming around in water. And again, water, to be sure, water doesn't really take part in the reaction. It's just a place for these HCl molecules to swim around in. Now, because this is such a simple system, there aren't that many possible products that can come out of it. So let's just hypothesize on a few. One is maybe they all react together, stick together, bond together, and form a supermolecule, MgHCl. As far as we know, as far as chemists in the late 1700s know, this is a decent hypothesis. Another idea is maybe magnesium causes the H and the Cl to separate, and we have Mg plus H plus Cl. Now, later scientists learned that hydrogen, when it's by itself, is typically a gas, and it always comes in pairs. So there's two hydrogens bonded together. So it kind of looks like this. As well, scientists learned that chlorine by itself is typically a gas and also comes in pairs. So chlorine gas looks like that. So maybe this is a possibility. Maybe the magnesium metal stays, out shoots up hydrogen gas, out shoots out chlorine gas. Let's take a look at a third possibility. Maybe the magnesium steals the chlorine and frees up the hydrogen. So this will be magnesium chloride plus hydrogen. And as also later on, scientists learned that when magnesium bonds with chlorine, it's always MgCl2. And so this is a third hypothesis of products from this reaction. Let's take a look at a fourth. Maybe we produce, so the magnesium doesn't take the chlorine, it takes the hydrogen, MgH2 plus Cl2. And so this is a fourth hypothesis of products, and maybe there's more. You can mix and match and guess what comes out. And so there's one final thing to touch on which can help us determine the products of the reaction, so it's not just a complete guess. And we can run what's called chemical tests on the products of the reaction. In the specific test, there's tons of chemical tests chemists can do to identify elements or chemicals. And the specific test we're going to do is a test for hydrogen gas, and the test goes like this. If you stick a burning splint or piece of wood into the test of where the reaction is happening, and if it pops, if it kind of blows up, that's a positive test for hydrogen. So we can do that. And so if we have a positive test for hydrogen, maybe it's this or this that is the right answer to what the products of this reaction are. If we have a negative test, maybe we do produce a supermolecule of MgHCl, or we're producing this. So we can run that hydrogen test, and that can help us determine what the products of this reaction are. I'll see you in the lab video.